The reason why you haven't finished your literature review is because you are more interested in playing around and being confused and being overwhelmed. Because the fastest way to finish your literature review is to accept the fact that it is going to be hard, it's going to be tedious, and it's going to be annoying. And so if you are interested in that, you want to know more about where I'm coming from, let's keep watching. And today, y'all, I am on one. I'm going to try to keep it down to a minimum, but I am feeling it. But if you are new to me, you don't know who I am Dr. Marvette Lacy. I work with doctoral students to write their dissertations in 12 months or less. If you are watching this on a replay, put #replay. If you're here with me live, let me know. Who are you? Hi, where are you watching from? Tell me a little bit about you, your program, where you are in this process, and tell me more about like the challenges of the literature review. Now, I know that was a lot. I just wanted to give you many options because I just want to talk to you. I'm going to do a little bit of talking, but I love going back and forth with y'all in the comments. I want to tell you a little story really quickly. In my doc program, we had at that time what is called the publishable paper process. This process was intended for you as a student to understand the overall research process and to get some practice with crafting a research project, defending that proposal, collecting data, going through IRB, right, and writing it up and defending that. And so that you would have a manuscript at the end where you could submit to a journal for publication. And you typically would do this in between, like after your first year, going into your second year. If your program is like my program, I was not prepared to do that at that time, but that's how my program was set up. And so I waited until the end of my second year to do this. And I remember the summer, I took the entire summer from May to August, and I said, I am going to write my proposal for this publishable paper. I spent majority of my time. I still remember it was a yellow notebook. I would sit in my room in the summer with no air because my roommate at the time did not want to turn on the air. I was in Georgia, by the way, where on average it's like 95, 100 degrees outside, but that's a whole different point. I would sit in my hot room and I would read article after article. I had this yellow spiral notebook that I would take all these notes on because I am someone who's old school. I like paper and pen. And I would do that for hours every day. And I was so confident going into this proposal defense. I was like, listen, nobody is going to be able to tell me I didn't know what I was doing. I have been working and working and working. And I even checked with my chair to be like, are you sure this is good to go? She's like, yeah, it's just a publishable paper. It shouldn't be a big deal. Well, I go into my defense and I'm so excited because my committee are these two dope like Black women who've been in the field of higher ed for a while and they do amazing research. And so we go in there and y'all, they tear me apart. They have question after question about what is the purpose of your research? Why are you making these methodological decisions that you're making? How are you going to collect the research? Who exactly is your participant? All of these questions that I have no answer to. And I was just sitting there, y'all. I was sitting there at that table. I could still see it. I feel like I was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And all I could think of is, why are they not asking me about my literature review? I put all this time in the literature review and nobody has asked me not one question about the literature. And I'm like, just give me a question about the literature. I promise you I can answer it. But they were like, that does not matter. If you don't know what you are doing when it comes to research, it doesn't matter what the literature has to say. And I failed that defense. I failed it, y'all. And I remember crying in front of these women. So I was crying because I was crying in the room. But I walked out of that being like, I am going to figure out what this process entails. I will never feel like this ever again. I will never feel like this. That's a promise I made to myself. I would never. And so when it came down to doing my dissertation proposal and writing that literature review, I had no drama around it. Like once I got over my whole like anxiety, there was 8-month period where I couldn't write. That was overall life things. But when it came down to like, okay, we're writing this proposal, I finished my entire 50-page proposal in a month. In a month. Because I got in my system what I'm about to tell you today. Y'all, let me make sure I put my phone on do not. Put it on do not disturb, y'all, because you know the people be wanting to call you when you're doing things. What I know for sure, and I'm gonna go over a lot of information today, but what I know for sure, what I hope that you take away from this It's not about you don't want it bad enough. It's not about that you don't know what you're doing. Honestly, it comes down to you accepting that this process is tedious. It's going to be hard and it's going to be annoying. And I'm not about to sit here and sugarcoat it for you. It is that. But the more that you can accept that's what it is, the more you can make peace with what's going to happen, the faster you will go through this literature review. If I don't know nothing else, this season of life, I just keep reminding myself and I keep reminding clients, the long way is the fast way. Now, a lot of people are going to jump off now. And we're going to say goodbye to them and we wish them nothing but the best. But for the rest of you who are listening to me, listen to my words. The long way is the fast way. You keep trying to watch these hacks and do these apps and whatnot. It really is going to come down to you putting words on the page. If you see the pinned comment, you can sign up right now for the 30-day literature review workshop. It is 60% off. That means you can get it for $38. What this will do is give you a process for writing. The reason why I'm giving you a process for writing is because the only way to write a literature review, what's the magic word, is to write it. It's not about you reading. It's not about your note-taking system. You're going to have to put your fingers on the keyboard and type out words. And those words are going to be the shittiest words you have ever written. Because my first point that I want to make to you is that for every hour of writing, I want you to go ahead and make peace with, it's going to be a minimum of 3 hours of editing. The biggest mistake that I see people making when it comes to writing in general, but especially the literature review, is that you're not giving yourself enough time to edit. You're not giving yourself enough time to sit with the words, rearrange the words, polish the words, go figure out how you want to say things just right. You're more concerned with trying to get this over with quickly, and that is why you're stalling out in this process. I know it sounds counterintuitive on the surface, but seriously, if you want to write this literature review quickly, go the long way. And the long way is being all right, at a minimum, I'm going to have to write this literature review 5 times because that's my second point. When you can make at minimum, listen to me, at minimum, you're going to rewrite this 5 times. That's just writing. It ain't about you. It's not about that you're not being good enough. It's writing. Go talk to your favorite writer. They are rewriting things multiple times. I was just talking in a group about Stephen King. If you are familiar with the author Stephen King, his whole writing process, and if y'all seen a book by Stephen King, it's like a whole encyclopedia. But his whole process is that he's going to write 3 to 4 drafts of every book. Y'all, these books are 400 or 500 pages. He already knows that the book he's writing, he's going to have to rewrite it 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 times. The first draft is for him, is what he says. The first draft is he lets himself just write however he wants to write. Draft 2, 3, and 4 is about the reader and about what is going to sound good, what's going to flow, what's going to help the reader understand. What you want to take from that is you're going to rewrite this literature review multiple times. The reason why I tell people to write shitty paragraphs and shitty pages is because I know that you're going to have to rewrite it. I know that you're going to have to edit and spend time with this getting feedback. But you can't edit something that doesn't exist. You cannot edit a document if you don't have words on the page. So the first step that you're going to see in this 30-day literature review workshop is directing you to put words on the page before you read anything, before you outline anything, before you organize anything. You're simply going to start with your problem statement, and you, from your brain, you're going to write. I ask you to pull up a document and just dump out what you know, because most of you have been spending hours, days, weeks, years reading articles. If I was to go into your laptop, if I was to go on your Google Drive or whatever, your OneDrive or whatever you're using, I would see probably hundreds of articles. If I was to find your version of your yellow spiral notebook, I would see all those notes. How do you translate those notes into actual pages of the literature review? I'm gonna wait. Because you're more interested in reading and taking notes, but you don't know how you're going to translate the notes into the actual pages. That's what this workshop is doing, is helping you to translate. It's helping you to synthesize. And the best way that you can do that is to face that it's going to be hard, that you're going to be afraid, but you still have to put words on a page. At some point, you're going to have to be willing to let it be shitty. At some point, you're going to have to let that critical voice that's in your mind that's telling you all the reasons why what you say is not making sense, why so-and-so is going to tell you to rewrite it, why your chair is going to tell you again how you're not a good writer. You're going to have to let that voice just keep talking while you courageously put words on the page. So the first step is just putting words on the page. And then the next step of the workshop, I tell you, okay, based on these words, you now have started to write your persuasive argument, because y'all, a literature review is your persuasive argument as to why your research needs to be conducted. It is not to tell us everything that's ever been written about your topic, because if you were going to do that, that's the whole dissertation. You can write a 500-page dissertation on everything that's ever been discussed or published about your topic. That is not the point here. The point is you got something to say, like South got something to say, like you got something to say. You are coming into this research with a theory, with an idea, with a question, and you need to explain to the reader why you are seeing it the way that you see it. Most of y'all are too busy getting offended about, oh, they don't respect me. They don't think my research is real. They keep asking me what racism has to do with this. Yeah, because you don't know how to answer the question. That's why they're asking. Everybody's not out to get you. In academia, you got to be willing to stand on what you believe in. You got to be willing to put 10 toes down and have a defense of, this is why I see the world the way I see it. Because at this stage, what everybody knows is that all this shit is made up. We made it up. And the things, the ideas that circulate, the ideas that take root are those ideas that people have been able to back it up with existing literature, with just their observations. That is what you're doing in this literature review. I get some of y'all may have more like old school chairs or whatnot, and they may tell you, you got to find everything that's ever been written. They need to catch up. So much research has been produced, and I don't mean that in no shady way, but they need to catch up. You are creating a persuasive argument, right? If you want to study, I'm trying to think, the experiences of Black women in doctoral program, why? Why are we here? Why are we doing that? What's the point? Why should we care about Black women in doctoral programs? Why does this research need to be done? There's 50 million dissertations and articles about Black women. Why do we need another one? That is the question. Those are the questions you're answering in your literature review. Other people's literature, AKA other people's words, can't necessarily answer that for you in the way that you would personally answer that. Only you can determine how you would personally answer that. So that is why we start off with you putting words on the page. The people who, because I'm going to be honest with y'all, the people who purchase this workshop and say it don't work for them is because they don't want to follow the steps. Because they think they're better than what they are. Because they're more interested in dilling and daddling in literature and pretending to be confused. You're more interested in having excuses than you are moving forward. I have helped over 50 people become doctor. I know what I'm doing. I'm a whole PhD. I know what I'm doing. I need to say that I need to stop for 1 minute, because people come in and I tell them just right. And they're like, that's not going to work for me. You don't understand. I was just talking to a client the other day and who has access to the workshop. And I said, why didn't you do step 1? And she was like, well, I think I don't know enough yet. I'm like, but how do you know you don't know enough? Like, this is a good question for everybody. How do you know that you need to read more? Beyond what your chair told you, beyond what faculty told you, what evidence do you have that says that you're supposed to read more? How do you know that you don't know enough to write? Well, you might say it's because when I go to sit down and I go to write, nothing comes out. But have you ever questioned, is it because you don't know enough, or is it because you're scared? Is it because you're replaying that conversation that you had a few days earlier when so-and-so told you you were the worst writer? Y'all had the program chair in my advisor, the 2 most senior people in the program, tell me I was a horrible writer to my face. They say, you are an awful writer. We don't know why we let you in this program. Have you ever heard of the Writing Center? Have you tried it? Never mind that I had a standing appointment every week. As a grad student, you only got an hour a week in the Writing Center. Who was there every week? And they still told me, have you heard of it? And so I'm saying this story to say I understand what it's like when you go to sit down and you believe that you're not a good writer. When you hear those conversations replaying in your mind, I get how that can fuck with your head. I get it. What I'm saying to you, though, is if you still want to become doctor, you're going to have to be like, yeah, those people don't get it. Those people don't believe in me. Those people don't support me. Okay, what am I going to do next? Because I can't keep spending time and energy replaying their conversation. I came to get what I want. Like, that didn't make sense, but y'all get my point. Like, I came to get this degree. So what am I going to do to get the degree? I had to sit there and through tears and through anxiety and still say, I'm willing to put words on the page. Are you willing to put words on the page? You're going to have to write. And here's what I know. You know way more than you could give yourself credit for right now. If you simply, for most of you, if you were to humor me and just say, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes, I'm going to open up a Google document and I'm just going to type whatever comes to my mind. I literally mean whatever thought is up here. You write it on that page for 30 minutes. Your mind would be blown how many pages you have at the end of that. I've seen student after student, those students who have finished their literature review in a weekend, they did that. They opened up a document and they were like, let me see if Dr. Lacy actually knows what she's talking about. I had a client who's not even a dissertation client. She wrote an entire book on the plane ride from Chicago to Houston because she was like, well, you're always talking about just open up a document and write, so let me do it. On a 2.5-hour flight, an entire 200-page book. Now, was that book ready to publish? No. Were those literature reviews that they wrote in the weekend ready to hit submit on? No. But imagine after having days and weeks of you not being able to write, and in 30 minutes, you have a solid 10 pages that you now can edit, that you now can rearrange the words, that you now can tinker with. How much more confidence would you have in your ability to finish your dissertation? How much more motivation would you have to show up to write? That is what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you a step-by-step process. Most of you will try to sit down and you're like, okay, let me get my articles. Let me read them. Let me take my notes. Okay, this says it this way. Okay, let me try to paraphrase it. And then you do that for about 2 hours. You get overwhelmed and you say, I need a break. And then that break, which you thought was going to be like 15 minutes, maybe even a day, ends up being a 3-month break because the way you were trying to approach this literature review is overwhelming. Instead, what I'm asking you to do is, what if I could trust myself? Catch it. What if I could trust myself? What if I know more than I think I do? What if those people are wrong about me when it comes to writing? What if what they're seeing is the effects of imposter syndrome and anxiety? What if I could just sit down and write out 10 pages in 30 minutes? Let me just see. I don't have to show anyone. I don't have to let anyone know I'm doing this. I'm just going to take 30 minutes. I'm sitting here anyway. And you turn on your music or put on your headphones. That's my thing. And open up a document and start writing. I promise you, you will be blown away. Because now when you have these 10 pages that you were like, for shits and giggles, I'm just going to write, you can get an idea of how you're thinking about your topic. You can get an idea of where you're coming from. And as you're reading those shitty 10 pages, immediately it becomes clear what needs a citation. Let me say that again. If you're sitting down and you're writing a shitty draft and you're letting your thoughts come on a page, now you are becoming clear on the argument that you want to make. Remember, I said a literature review is a persuasive argument. You become clear on the argument. And as you're rereading through your shitty 10 pages, you're like, oh, that should have a citation, or I need to go find literature for that. You know what that ends up being? Your roadmap to knowing which articles you need to go find or you need to go read. Now we know we have a direction of what articles to include, what needs a citation. Because the next step in the 30-day workshop is to go find those articles. We start with 10 articles at a time. I show you a process for reading, how to read an article. A lot of you are sitting there reading every single word of the article. You're taking you're highlighting. You got the whole thing. You got your highlighters. You got your little Post-its, the little sticky ones, right? You got your pages of notes. You're like copying and pasting entire quotes from the article. You feel real good. You feel real productive. Because it's easy to sit there and read an article. You know how to do that. And so you spend hours and hours getting lost in the weeds of reading. No, I show you a system. We got 15 minutes per article. Y'all are playing too much. You got 15 minutes. And I'm going to tell you exactly the parts you need to read that's going to help you write your literature review. And here's a bonus for those of you who don't have the workshop. Stop reading their literature review. I get that you think you're reading it because it's going to give you an idea of how to write your literature review, but all it's doing is confusing you even more. Stop reading other people's interpretation of the literature. That's their perspective. That's how they think. That doesn't mean that's how you think. But if you're so busy trying to phrase it the way they phrase it, you're going to end up writing a dissertation that you don't even believe in. And if you don't believe in it, how are you going to defend it? Y'all forget that you have to defend everything that you write in your dissertation. But if you're so busy copying other people, you don't know why they said it the way they said it. You don't know why they framed it the way they framed it. Stop reading their literature reviews. Write your own literature review. So I give you a step-by-step process of how to read it in 15 minutes. And then the next step is you're going to write a shitty paragraph about the article. So once you read 10 articles, you should have 10 shitty paragraphs. Right? So at the end of this process, you now have your brain dumped 10 pages and you have about 3 pages based on the literature. And you know what you spend the rest of your time doing? You combine those 2 documents and you edit and you move things around. I designed a workshop that in 30 days or less, you will have a solid 20-page draft of your literature review. This 20-page draft is going to be the foundation where you get to sit and you get to move things around. You get to edit. You get to give it to your chair. You get to get detailed feedback from them. And your literature review is going to have logic. It's going to be clear. It's going to make sense, which will help your chair to give you more feedback. A lot of you keep submitting just rambles to your chair. Like y'all have all these like run-on pages of all these articles that it's like a long boring book report. And y'all think you don't even want to read it, but you keep giving it to your chair and being mad that they won't give you feedback when you haven't even read it because it's boring. I am teaching you how to write something you're actually excited about. Can you imagine thinking that the literature review is exciting? Yes. Okay. I got way off of my notes. Let me double check. Yeah, I think I said everything. The whole thing here is you need to have multiple drafts, 5 drafts of a literature review. I am helping you to write your first draft. The drafts 2 through 5, your chair has to help you because now you're going to be writing for their expectations. I am just helping you get from having nothing to a draft that you can now move forward in the process. And a lot of students, I'm thinking about like Brittany. She was like, okay, I'm going to do this in the weekend. And she submitted her first shitty draft to her chair. What did her chair say? Go ahead and schedule your defense, girl. We're good. Because what you don't know, what most chairs know, is like, you don't have to rewrite this anyway. We just need a literature review for you to defend the proposal. But at the end, you're going to have to rewrite it and it's going to be more robust and you're going to be more clear on exactly what you want to include in the literature review because you would have collected the data and you would have analyzed the data. So you will know what type of literature you need to defend that data. So most of them will just say, go ahead and schedule your defense. I'm thinking about Jennifer, who just defended her entire dissertation. We did the same thing. I was like, you keep reading all these articles and you keep trying to tell us everything you know about this topic and we don't care. It's boring. Instead, open up a document and let me tell you how to write this. I am someone who is literal. I'm someone who needs a process. And so I created the program that I needed, meaning every step of the way, I'm giving you prompts to respond to. I'm not just leaving you hanging. I'm saying, answer this question for 2 paragraphs. Answer this question for 1 paragraph. And if you are someone who can actually follow instructions, because a lot of you can, and I mean that, and Shay, it's not that you, maybe let me reframe. It's not that you can, it's that you don't want to follow it because you're entitled and you're arrogant. But that's a whole different topic. If you are someone who can follow instructions as written, please get this workshop so you can be done with this literature review. I will give you prompts. Jennifer wrote that in a weekend and turned it into her chair. She finished her dissertation doing that same process. Okay, let me go up and see. I know people were commenting. Just a master's student, but will grab PhD next. Should the Lord say the same? Struggling with how to keep everything organized, and I read and will eventually use my literature review. Yellow notebook, yes. In the workshop, I tell you the reason why we start with 10 articles at a time is so that you can keep it organized. You find your 10 articles immediately before you read anything. I tell you to go ahead and write out the citations. Now, for those of you using like Zotero, something like that, you do what you do. I'm somebody who's old school. I say go ahead and write out the full citation and write out the in-text citation. And you want to, when you're saving the articles, I love to put the year it was published, the first author, and a little bit of the title. So when I'm going back months later to go look it up, I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I am someone who will organize articles by like topic. I might have something that's like Black women, doctoral programs, policies, and then that is how I keep things organized on my Google Drive. I use Google. Google has my whole life. If it ever goes down, I'm gonna be real sad. But that is how I keep things organized. Hope that helps. Yellow Notebook story speaks to me. So thanks for teaching us. Oh, you're so welcome. The long way is the fast way. Absolutely. Y'all are so sweet. Is the literature review to alphabetical order? Can you let me know your question? Because I think I'm not following. So literature review, are you asking me, is it supposed to be in alphabetical order? If that's the question, no. It's more about, so let me back up. When you are thinking about a topic, like the topic of your dissertation, you want to make sure that you have a population, a problem that they are experiencing, and an environment where they are experiencing the problem. So if your population, I'm going to keep with my example, say my population are Black women. The problem they are experiencing is that they're like enrolling in higher rates, but they are not, retention rates or persistence to graduation rates are still about the same. And I want to talk about Black women who are enrolled in historically white institutions in their education program. That's a topic. So then once you are clear on your topic, then you want to write a literature review that defends that topic, that it further explains who are Black women in these doctoral programs. What is a doctoral program in education? Why should we care about Black women in education doctoral programs? And what will happen if we don't care about this issue, if we don't try to find a solution to it? That's what your literature review should be answering. Okay. Is the literature review supposed to be in alphabetical order? Sorry for the typo. So no, it's more about what literature do you need to defend your topic. If you're writing your reference list or your citation list, that will be in alphabetical order. But in terms of the literature review itself, no, it's just more about how do you want to defend your topic. So let me know if that helps. Okay, y'all, I'm way over time. Let me know if you have more questions. I would be happy to keep this conversation going in the DMs. I encourage you to go ahead and get this workshop. In December, we will be doing a 30-day challenge. So in December, I am going to be recording videos, and every day I'm going to give you a short 2 to 3 minute video that tells you what your assignment is for the day and how to complete that assignment. And we're going to have a community where you come in and you report, did you do the assignment? Yes or no? And if you follow the instructions every day, you will have a literature review in 30 days. Now, the way that I organize this challenge in this workshop is that you are dedicating 6 to 10 hours a week with about 1 or 2 rest days, because I'm someone who does not believe you need to be working all day and night. Nothing requires that. Like this literature review doesn't require that. I tell you exactly how long things should take. I tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. And in December, we're going to do it as a group. So if you want to do that, all you need to do is to go to the link in the bio. So on this Instagram account, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, go to the show notes. But all you need to do is hit that link. It should take you directly to the 30-day literature review checkout page, and it should already have the 60% discount, and you can go ahead and sign up. Now, if you're listening to this after November 27th, I went back to a regular price. But right now, you can get this for $38. So let me know if you have trouble. Indecent Rebel, I look forward to seeing what your literature review is like. And Marisol, if you're still here, hi. I miss your face. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to go because I need to go to a call. But let me know your questions. I hope to see you inside of the workshop. And I will come back and talk to y'all on Thursday. Bye, y'all.